So what you're about to see is my Buffalo Bills 2020 predictions. Make sure to like and subscribe for more similar content like this. I'm going to be bringing out a lot more over the next few days. Hope you enjoy.
Is it getting cold in here?
So, the Buffalo Bills. And 2019 was really a mixed bag for them. They finished 10-6 in the regular season, but they had silly losses to sides like the Browns, the Jets. But they did well overall in the regular season, making it to the wild card round. And again, they made silly errors and blew a 16-point lead to Houston Texans and ended up resulting in an overtime loss. So there'll be mixed feelings about last season. There's good foundations to build on, but annoyingly ended short. So looking towards Josh Allen and the quarterback in his sophomore season was very, very good to say the least. He showed he has the accuracy and the ability to be a true franchise quarterback of the future. He does have some flaws when it comes to decision making. You know, sometimes he should tuck and run, but he tries to force plays too much, and we saw that in the Texans game when he tried to flick the ball back into play when it would have been better just to throw it away. But at the end of the day, he has showed a lot of promise. He's got a very strong arm and he is mobile when he needs to get outside the pocket. So he shows all of the tangibles that you could want in a quarterback. And he also has what we talk about, the clutch gene. He really does have this. He led 5 game-winning drives in 2019. And I think he's definitely going to grow in 2020. And I think he's going to grow into the Bills quarterback of the future. And they're just going to keep building around him. And he's going to be their main guy for a while. So just talking about Josh Allen there, let me know in the comments, how would you rate him? Do you think he's a quality quarterback that can lead the Bills to success? Or do you think he's going to be a bit of a flop in 2020? Let me know in the comments now what you think. So coming into 2020, and the Bills wide receivers do look very good. You've got John Brown, Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley. And all 3 of these players have a very different role in the team, I think we'll see in 2020. You have Cole Beasley playing a lot from the slot and running a lot of underneath to medium routes. Stephon Diggs with great route running ability from Minnesota. They'll have him on fairly deep routes to medium routes, but trying to create as much separation as possible. I do think that they have a really good wide receiver core. These 3 would normally come in and start in pretty much any other offense in the league. So the running back core for the Bills looks very good again this year. You've got Devin Singletary as their running back 1, who had 770 rushing yards in only 8 games started in 2019, so there's good foundations there. They also drafted Zach Moss out of Utah in the 2020 draft. He racked up some great numbers there, and then behind those 2, you've got TJ Yeldon, who's an experienced running back who's had a few years in the league. So they're set there. Even if one of them goes down injured, I think they'll still be able to match the production. And looking towards the O-line, all 5 of the starters from 2019 are returning in 2020. And it's something that they've really looked to build on year. In 2018, they were 26th overall, the O-line graded by PFF, up to 21st last year. And I think this year you're going to see more of the same. All 5 starters returning, increased cohesion, increased chemistry. The runners know where the holes are going to appear. The blockers know where the running backs like to hit the hole. So I do think you're going to see an improvement yet again on the offensive line for 2020. So on the defensive side of the ball, this is what really wins the Bills the majority of their games. It was ranked 3rd overall in 2019, it was 2nd overall in 2018, and the Bills' defense is really, really solid. The D-line had 44 sacks in 2019, which is above NFL average, and just to add to that, they've added AJ Epinesa, the defensive end from Iowa, in the draft. So I expect a good pass rush coming from him in 2020 as well. The one thing I would say is that the defensive line star, Ed Oliver, that was hyped up to do a lot of big things for the Bills last year, really didn't perform. I know he did have injury problems. He wasn't on the field for the whole year. In the 7 games that he did start, though, he did get 5 sacks and he made over 40 tackles. So these are pretty good stats for a D lineman to be putting up. But in fact, it was Jordan Phillips, the other defensive tackle, who actually put up the most impressive stats last year, racking up loads of sacks and tackles for losses, but he leaves them in free agency, so we'll see how that one plays out. But the main reason that the Bills' defense last year was so good was the secondary. Once again, you've got a secondary composed of Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White, Jordan Poyer. So these players are absolutely quality. They had loads of interceptions between them, and they just really do lock down sides and squeeze the life out of them. They can't get any passing yards going. And it wasn't just the secondary. The linebackers were really good. You had Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano both had over 100 tackles each, and Edmonds defended 9 passes. So their pass defense is really, really solid. It's what limits the opposition's offense in most games. So looking towards the coaching side of things, and it's Sean McDermott's 4th year in charge in 2020, and he's had 2 winning seasons now, but last year was a massive step in the right direction towards turning the Bills into a real winning organisation. And offensive coordinator Brian Daboll, he's been in charge of the offense for 2 years, and he spent time at Alabama, won them a national championship, and other NFL and CFL teams. And you've got the defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier going into his 4th year with the Bills, and as I mentioned, he's coached them to 2nd and 3rd best defense in the NFL, so he's a real quality coordinator that they need to hold on to. So looking at the schedule, the Bills have got the 5th hardest schedule in all of the NFL for 2020. They obviously play the Pats home and away because they're divisional rivals. But then they travel to the Titans and the 49ers whilst hosting the Chiefs and the Seahawks, and those are the teams that made the playoffs. So it really isn't an easy schedule. It's harder than last year, but I still think it's going to be a good Bills team. So looking towards the off-season moves, and obviously the star name bringing in was Stephon Diggs. They brought him in from the Minnesota Vikings to add some real star quality to the wide receiver core, and he had 1,000-yard seasons in 2018 and 2019 for the Vikings. And as I mentioned, his route run ability is almost second to none in the NFL. He creates so much separation on his routes. And he is a really good player. I mean, the Bills had to give up a fair bit of draft capital for him. They're 1st in 2020, 5th and a 6th, and a 4th in 2021. But I'd say it's worth it to add a player of that caliber as long as he can stay fit. And I talked about Josh Allen having that clutch gene, being able to win tight games or tough games in late situations. Stephon Diggs definitely has that. He's come up clutch so many times for the Minnesota Vikings, and he was the one, obviously, that scored the touchdown in the Minneapolis Miracle against the New Orleans Saints, so he has shown it multiple times as well. So then looking towards the draft, obviously, as I mentioned, their 1st round was traded away for Stephon Diggs. The 2nd round, they picked up AJ Epinesa, defensive end from Iowa, who's just living in the backfield all the time. Racked up some really impressive stats there, well over 10 sacks and over 15 tackles for loss. So he's going to be a real good addition to the pass rush. And then in the 3rd round, as we've already mentioned, they picked up Zach Moss, the running back, so him and Singletary can form a 1-2 punch for 2020. And in the 4th, they picked up Gabriel Davis from UCF, which just adds a little bit of depth to the wide receiver core, because those 3 starters are all really good, but I think just behind them, if one of them was to get injured, they'd lack a bit of quality, a bit of depth. So I think Gabriel Davis is a really good pickup for them to add a bit more depth to the lineup. So summing up the season, I would say that the Bills' floor would be 8-8 this year, and probably the ceiling at 13-3. I'd say that the Bills are one of the teams that could really gel and click this year. And the O-line's there again, Josh Allen's there again, that offense getting better and better each year and keeping the same level of lockdown defense. They are really going to be a good team this year. I think they're going to be the AFC East champions, and they could make a run deep in the playoffs, so we'll have to wait and see on that one. Let me know what you think. Do you think I've ranked them too highly, or do you think the Bills could go all the way this year? Let me know in the comments. So thanks to everyone that's made it to this stage of the video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and also turn notifications on so you never miss a video. I'm going to be bringing out content more regularly during the lockdown period for everyone, and I hope you enjoy the videos. Let me know in the comments what you think of the videos, any way to improve them, or if you enjoy them, let me know.